Here is everything you need to know about the four kings in 3 different generations and a secret aspect involving them that nobody talks about. To understand the culture of the four kings, we must look no further than the OGs. Ray Leonard is a gold medalist with exceptional hand speed and outboxing skills similar to the recently retired Muhammad Ali. In fact, he was blessed by the late great Ray Robinson to have his ring name Sugar. At the end of Sugar Ray Leonard's career, he managed to win titles from welterweight, middleweight, and light heavyweight, but not only that, he became lineal champion. He was the US's proud fighter, having his debut fight televised, which was unprecedented at the time. That's how popular he was. And after knocking out the WBC #1 contender, he would move on to face his toughest challenger yet, the Hands of Stone, Roberto Duran. At the time, Duran had an impressive record of 71-1 with 56 knockouts at the age of 29. Hands of Stone was an understatement because at the end of his career, he won 103 fights and 70 of those were by knockout. He retired having won championships in lightweight, welterweight, light middleweight, and middleweight. His career spanned for 5 decades, which led him to having the best resume out of the four kings. Yes, you heard me right. He's been a pro for 50 years. After the intense build-up between him and Leonard, he managed to shock the world by beating Leonard unanimously and becoming the new World Welterweight Champion. But this was short-lived because he forfeited the rematch. This fight is famously dubbed as the No Mas fight, and although people think it was due to Ray's adjustment, it's well documented that Duran was not training nor fit to fight at the time. The fight was signed without his consent, and he was about 200 pounds, so his camp was mostly focused in making weight at 147, which is why he gassed out and wasn't at his best. They ended up having a trilogy, but Duran was pushing 40, so it was way less competitive. Duran retired having the better resume out of the kings, but he lost to all of them because he was fighting far from his optimum weight. However, of all the kings, the only one to give him a good night's rest is Tommy the Hitman Hearns. Standing at 6'1", the Motor City Cobra was the tallest and lengthiest fighter hailing from the Kwang Gym, with one of the deadliest crosses in boxing. Hearns had won titles in lightweight, light middleweight, and middleweight with an impressive record. In 1981, he finally faced Ray Leonard for the title in a back-and-forth fight where he dominated. Like an anime character, Ray Leonard gets the famous pep talk that makes a comeback, dominating the middle rounds and the latter rounds win by knockout. They ended up having 2 rematches. The second one was at the full distance and was so close that many people believed that Hearns had edged it. In my opinion, he is not the greatest out of the four kings, but he does have an impressive record, beating the likes of Hall of Famer Wilfred Benitez. One of Hearns' other losses came from daring to be great in the light heavyweight division, but the other came from the best 3 rounds fight dubbed The War against Marvelous Marvin Hagler. Hagler had a rough uprising in his professional career. He's been avoided from having his well-deserved title fight as mandatory. David Benavidez can relate. Then, when he finally gets a shot, he gets robbed of a win with a controversial draw. He ended up winning the rematch, but unfortunately his first title win against Minter got ruined due to the racially motivated audience who began throwing objects immediately after his knockout win. Even his last fight against Leonard was a controversial loss that many believed Hagler won. Hagler retired as the former undisputed middleweight champion for a full 7 years of domination against good names. He defended his WBC belt by beating Roberto Duran unanimously in an exciting 15-round fight. He then fought Hearns, who knocked out Duran in 2 rounds with 2 knockdowns. But as we know, styles make fights. And their fight is an example that the triangle theory does not work in boxing because Hagler knocks out Hearns in 3 action-packed rounds to remain undisputed. Hagler had an impressive reign until Ray shocked the world by moving up 2 weight divisions above after a 3-year layoff to officially end the reign. Hagler had ended his career with 62 wins and only 10 of them coming by decisions. He has 3 losses and 2 draws, having avenged his controversial matches except for the Ray fight. The thing that made the Four Kings so memorable is that they fought each other in their primes. Before we crowned the lightweights as kings, I believe the Four Kings of the generation before was held in the welterweight division with the likes of Terence Crawford, Errol Spence Jr., Keith Thurman, and Shawn Porter. All these fighters were talented and skilled, but unfortunately never got to finish a cycle due to unfortunate circumstances. Let's start first with the man that holds a 100% KO rate in the 147 division, Terence "Bud" Crawford. Crawford is an adapt switch hitter that can fight both in orthodox and southpaw, and he's the only fighter amongst this generation's Four Kings to win undisputed. Although he was very talented, he never got to fight big fights that the other members got because he was signed to Top Rank while the rest was signed to Showtime Boxing. Both promotions weren't willing to risk their fighters, so Bud's options were very limited, and Top Rank didn't have the best welterweight, making his resume not as good in comparison. This case is different compared to the Big Shark, Errol "The Truth" Spence. Spence has always beaten Crawford career-wise, having fought the healthier Kell Brook and the better Shawn Porter in their prime compared to when Bud fought them. Due to the PBC having hired more high-level welterweights, Spence had a better chance collecting the WBA, WBC, and IBF world titles than Bud's WBO title. A lot of people forget that Spence actually has an impressive resume. However, multiple factors other than the promotional wars led to his encounter against Bud being long overdue. Spence suffered 3 car accidents which led to multiple injuries and in-ring inactivity. On top of that, he outgrew the division and didn't quite live the healthiest lifestyle outside of the ring compared to Terence Crawford. Bud's healthier lifestyle, activity, talent, and skills gave Spence one of the worst beatings and crowned Terence "Bud" Crawford as the first 2-time undisputed champion in the full belt era by knockout. Another fighter that dealt with injuries that never got into the ring with either Bud nor Spence is Keith "One-Time" Thurman. Keith Thurman is a dangerous boxer, so much so that even Floyd Mayweather ducked him when he was mandatory challenger. David Benavidez can relate. Keith Thurman has an impressive resume, having fought the likes of future Hall of Famer Manny Pacquiao. Thurman had an impressive knockout rate, but due to his elbow injury, he traded power for a more fast, slick style as seen by his fight against Mario Barrios, where he won by decision, his 8th consecutive decision fight. He also sustained a neck injury from a car accident, and his attempt in a comeback this year got cancelled due to a bicep tour. The only member of the Four Kings he managed to fight is Showtime Shawn Porter, who is the only member to finish the full cycle. The 2-time division champ is severely underrated. He arguably has the best resume out of the 4, had competitive fights amongst the 4, and never been knocked out until his 36th fight against Crawford, in a fight he was winning at first. Shawn Porter rightfully deserved the title of Hall of Fame. Unfortunately, this generation of Four Kings is a failure, and that's why they aren't even considered as the Four Kings. However, under all of this complicated history, most casual fans did not take notice that the actual Four Kings took place in the flyweight division. A lot of boxing fans are biased amongst foreign fighters, female fighters, and fighters in the lower weight classes, believing that they're less skilled, while pure boxing fans all know that first of all, that's cap. And secondly, the rival between these fighters were nothing but spectacular. They were on top of the division, had a good resume, and most important of all, fought each other in their prime with memorable rematches. Roman Chocolatito Gonzalez, Juan Francisco El Gallo Estrada, Sergio Cerrone Versailles, and Carlos Cuadras had fought each other in a total of 11 competitive fights. Estrada won 2 of his 3 fights against Gonzalez, 1 of his 2 fights against Sergio Cerrone Versailles, and both of his fights against Cuadras. Gonzalez beat Estrada in their first fight, lost both fights against Sergio Cerrone Versailles, and defeated Cuadras in their one and only fight. Cerrone Versailles defeated Gonzalez twice, is tied against Estrada with both fighters winning 1 fight each, and got defeated by Cuadras, who later lost to Estrada and Gonzalez. These guys are warriors that weren't as appreciated to casual fans who don't know fighters that don't have a big name, and biased fans who refuse to acknowledge the skills of fighters in the lower weight division. However, there is hope, because things are slowly starting to change. The current four kings are gervontadavis, Devin the Dream Haney, the Takeover Teofimo Lopez, and King Ryan Garcia. Ryan Garcia is the only fighter to have faced two of the four kings, losing to Tank and having his sensational win against Devin Haney turn into a no contest due to some complicated drama, but a rematch might be in line for 2025. So far, three of the four kings moved up to 140 in the super lightweight division, and by the looks of it, Tank might also move up as well after cleaning up his division to face off in a mega fight against Devin Haney and Teofimo Lopez. Ryan Garcia's speed, Teofimo Lopez's counter-punching abilities, Tank's versatility, and Devin Haney's elusiveness is what makes this generation of four kings very entertaining. Hopefully the cycle completes. However, I'm not concerned on whether it won't happen, because so far Teo, Devin, and Ryan showed that they are willing to fight the best. My only concern is how long will it take for Tank to move up to face Teo and Devin before they move up to 147. I've talked about the four kings, and now I'll talk about a certain aspect within the cycle that nobody else mentions. A usurper is a person that takes a position of power or importance illegally or by force. In this context, I call these fighters who pose a big threat and are connected to the four kings cycle. This causes them to either be replaced with an actual king, be considered as the fifth king, or to be known as the legend killer who defeated the kings. Starting off with the original four kings usurper, the Bible of boxing, Wilfred Benitez. Wilfred Benitez is sometimes considered as the fifth king, because other than the four, he was the fifth most dangerous. Benitez fought three of the four kings, losing to Ray Leonard by TKO, beating Roberto Duran by unanimous decision, and losing to Thomas Hearns by majority decision. Although he was unable to fight Hagler, he is known as the youngest fighter to be champion at the age of 17. This is very similar to Jesse Bam Rodriguez, who is the youngest fighter born in the 2000s to be world champion and currently is the youngest champion. He sparred Roman Gonzalez and defeated the other three of the four kings in the flyweight division. He dropped every one of the four kings, beat Quadras by unanimous decision, and knocked out Saron Vasai and recently won Francisco Estrada. A fight against Gonzalez might be in the works if Bam wins the rematch against Estrada, which would lead him to clearing out all four kings for the first time in boxing history. Someone that is yet to fight any of the four kings in the new generation is Shakur Stevenson. He is an Olympian and one of the best defensive fighters of today. Some people tend to replace Ryan Garcia with Shakur Stevenson, thinking that he's a member of the current four kings, which is false because Shakur Stevenson wasn't even in 135 when the new kings were crowned. He just had his third fight in 135, and I believe that he is a threat to the four kings. So the title of usurper, it fits. Who do you believe to be the usurper of the failed cycle? Let me know down in the comments below. My name is Ike the Giant Killer. I'm an amateur boxer, a boxing fan, and a YouTuber, and I'll see you next time.